It was a cold Texas evening. The kind where the wind feels sharp and the sky hangs low. A small convenience store stood on the edge of a lonely highway, its neon sign flickering in and out. Inside, the soft buzz of a refrigerator hummed through the quiet air. The smell of coffee mixed with gasoline lingered in the space. The cashier, a young woman named Rachel, rubbed her hands together to keep warm. It was late and she was just waiting for her shift to end. Then the door opened. A tall man in a simple jacket walked in, head down, like any regular traveler stopping for a quick snack. But as he moved closer to the counter, Rachel froze. She recognized that face instantly. It was Elon Musk, the billionaire engineer everyone knew from Tesla and SpaceX. He looked tired, like someone who had been driving for hours, but there was something calm in his expression. No security, no cameras, no luxury car outside. Just him alone. At first, Rachel thought it was a joke. Maybe a lookalike, maybe someone pretending. But when he pulled out his wallet and asked softly, "Do you have any change for 100?" she knew it was real. What happened next would go viral across the internet, not because of fame or money, but because of something far more human. Elon Musk was about to do something no one expected. Something that would leave Rachel in tears, and the world speechless. Before we dive in, do not forget to hit subscribe for more real-life stories that reveal the hidden sides of the world's most powerful people. The store sat on the edge of an empty Texas highway, half hidden by the dust of passing trucks. Its paint was chipped, faded from years of sun and storms. The sign above the door buzzed with a weak neon light that flickered like it was tired of staying alive. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of burnt coffee and old air freshener. A small radio played softly behind the counter, filling the silence with country tunes that no one really listened to anymore. Lena Carter, 24, stood behind the register with a blank stare at the clock. Her hair was tied back, her eyes slightly red from lack of sleep. Every night felt the same. She worked long shifts, sometimes 12 hours straight, just to keep up with the bills. Her small apartment on the edge of town barely held together. The pipes leaked, the heater made strange noises, and rent was always 1 week away from being late. But Lena kept going. She had to. Her aunt, the only family she had left, was sick and needed medication that insurance barely covered. So Lena picked up extra hours whenever she could. She smiled for customers even when her feet ached and her head pounded. She had learned to hide exhaustion behind a polite nod and a practiced, "Have a good night." There was something quiet about her world. The same faces came in, bought the same things, said the same words. Every night felt like a repeat of the one before. The hum of the refrigerators, the buzz of the lights, and the sound of the wind pressing against the glass made it feel like time had stopped. She poured herself another cup of coffee and leaned against the counter. The clock ticked closer to midnight. She could hear the faint whistle of the wind through the cracks in the door. Nothing ever really happened here. It was safe, predictable, dull. Then the sound broke the pattern. Tires on gravel. Slow and steady. A sleek car rolled into the parking lot, its headlights cutting through the foggy air. The hum of its engine was smooth, not the kind that belonged to old pickup trucks or dusty sedans that usually stopped by. Lena straightened her back and brushed her hair behind her ear. The neon light flickered above the entrance as the car came to a stop under it. For a moment, everything went still again. Then the door creaked open and someone stepped out. The sound of the engine faded into the night air as the silver Tesla came to a stop under the flickering sign. The car looked almost out of place in this dusty Texas town, shining against the dull light like it had wandered in from another world. Lena watched through the glass door, expecting some traveler or maybe a lost driver trying to find directions. She took a sip of her coffee and straightened her uniform, ready to greet whoever came in. The car door opened slowly. A tall man stepped out, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets. His steps were calm, almost deliberate. The doorbell above the entrance chimed softly as he walked inside. The air felt different the moment he entered. Lena could not explain it, but there was something about the man's presence that made the quiet store feel even quieter. He glanced around the small shop, his eyes moving from the shelves of chips to the rows of candy bars. He was not in a rush. He looked like someone lost in thought, like the world outside did not exist for a moment. Lena's first thought was that she had seen his face before, but she brushed it off. Maybe he just looked familiar from a commercial or a magazine. Then he looked up and the light hit his face. Her stomach dropped. It was Elon Musk. The man whose face appeared on every news site, every interview, every tech headline. The world's richest man was standing inside her tiny convenience store. Lena froze behind the counter. She wanted to speak, but her throat felt dry. He gave a polite nod, then started walking slowly down one of the aisles. He was quiet, almost too quiet. No bodyguards, no entourage, no attention. Just a man in a jacket looking at soda cans and cereal boxes like any other person. He did not pick up anything. He just looked. He moved from one aisle to another, his expression calm but distant. Lena could hear only the soft sound of his shoes on the old floor tiles. Her hands trembled slightly as she pretended to organize the counter. Every second felt longer than the last. After a few minutes, Elon Musk turned and started walking toward her. The sound of his footsteps grew louder. He stopped at the counter and looked at her with a faint smile. Lena's heart pounded in her chest. She had no idea what to say or why he was even there. If you are just joining, make sure to subscribe. Stories like this one show the human side of icons we think we know. Elon stood quietly at the counter, his eyes steady but unreadable. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence between them. Lena managed a nervous smile, unsure if she should say something or wait. Before she could speak, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick stack of $100 bills. Without a word, he placed it gently on the glass counter. The sound of the paper hitting the surface broke the still air like a spark in the dark. Lena's breath caught. She stared at the money, her mind racing. It was more cash than she had ever seen at once. Her first thought was that it must be some kind of mistake. Maybe he was paying for something expensive. But there was nothing on the counter. No snacks, no drink, no receipt waiting to be signed. Just the quiet weight of the money sitting there, staring back at her. She looked up at him, her lips parting slightly. "Sir, I think you dropped this," she said softly. He did not answer. His eyes stayed on her face, calm and focused as if he was waiting for her reaction. Her heart pounded in her chest. Was this a tip? A test? Or maybe one of those social experiments people posted online? Her thoughts tangled with each other. Pride told her to refuse it. Fear told her not to offend him. Disbelief told her that this moment could not be real. The store around her felt different now. The buzzing lights above seemed quieter. The hum of the machines faded away. Time slowed. It was just her, the counter, and the man everyone in the world talked about. Lena felt her palms grow sweaty. She wanted to ask him why. Why would someone like Elon Musk walk into her small store and lay down more money than she made in months? But the words would not come out. She just stood there, frozen, waiting for him to speak. For a few long seconds he said nothing. The silence filled every corner of the store. Then finally his voice broke through it. It was calm and low, almost gentle. "You work hard, do you not?" he asked quietly. The question hung in the air, simple but heavy, and Lena realized this night was far from ordinary. Lena's hands began to tremble as she stared at the stack of bills on the counter. Her heartbeat grew louder, echoing in her ears. She tried to speak, but her throat felt tight. The fluorescent lights above flickered faintly, casting a pale glow on her face. Her eyes started to blur as tears formed without warning. Elon did not move. He stood there, quiet, his eyes fixed on her with an expression that was calm but impossible to read. He was not impatient or cold. He just watched as if he wanted her to take a moment to feel everything that was happening. His presence carried a strange stillness, a weight that made the air heavier. Lena looked down at the money again. It did not feel like cash anymore. It felt like something else. Something bigger. She thought about the bills she had struggled to pay, the nights she had walked home under the same tired streetlights, the time she had skipped dinner to make sure her aunt could buy her medicine. Every long shift, every ache in her back, every quiet tear behind the counter, it all came rushing back at once. She tried to push the money back toward him, her voice shaking. "I cannot take this," she whispered. "It is too much." Her fingers brushed the edge of the bills and she felt how crisp they were, how new. They felt foreign, as if they belonged to another life, one far away from hers. Elon did not look surprised. His expression stayed the same, calm and thoughtful. The silence stretched between them again, filled with everything she could not say. The difference between them felt massive. A billionaire standing before a woman earning barely enough to survive. Power standing before fragility. Yet at that moment, neither seemed above the other. Lena wiped her eyes, embarrassed by the tears. But she could not stop them. Every part of her life had been about holding it together, and now, in front of a stranger she had only seen on screens, it all broke open. The cash on the counter felt heavier now. It was not just money. It was a question she could not answer, a message she could not read. She looked up, her lips trembling, waiting for him to explain. Elon slowly reached into his jacket again. His hand moved with purpose, steady and calm. He pulled out a small, folded piece of paper and placed it gently beside the stack of bills. Lena stared at the folded paper on the counter, unsure if she should touch it. Her hands were still shaking. Elon nodded slowly, signaling her to open it. She hesitated for a moment, then reached out and unfolded the paper carefully. The edges were worn, the folds deep, as if it had been carried around for years. Inside was an old photograph, slightly faded but still clear enough to see the faces. Lena's breath caught in her chest. Her eyes widened as she looked closer. It was a picture of a young woman standing in front of this very store. The sign above the door was newer back then, the colors brighter, but the shape of the building was the same. The woman in the photo was smiling, her hair loose, eyes full of hope. Lena recognized that face instantly. It was her mother. Her throat tightened. She looked up at Elon, confused and overwhelmed. "How do you have this?" she asked softly. Her voice cracked halfway through the sentence. Elon's eyes softened, and for the first time since he walked in, his expression changed. He looked almost nostalgic. "Your mother helped me a long time ago," he said quietly. "When I was young, before anyone knew my name. I was driving cross-country, sleeping in my car, trying to figure out what to do with my life. I stopped here one night. I was broke and lost." Lena listened, frozen, her mind trying to process what she was hearing. He glanced around the store, his eyes moving to the corner near the coffee machine. "Your mother worked here then. I remember that counter. I remember her smile. I did not have money to pay for food, and she gave me something to eat anyway. She told me to never give up on what I believed in. That kindness stayed with me." His voice lowered, filled with quiet emotion. "I promised her that one day when I made something of myself I would come back. I never did. Life moved fast and I forgot where this place even was. Until I found this photo again." Lena looked down at the photograph, tears spilling freely now. Her mother had passed away years ago, but hearing this story made her feel close again. Elon took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "She gave me hope when I had none," he said. "So tonight I came back to keep that promise." Elon kept his eyes on the photograph for a moment before speaking again. His voice was calm, but there was a quiet ache behind every word. "I remembered her more than I remembered most people I met back then," he said. "Your mother talked about you. You were little at the time. She told me she wanted to give you a better life, that she worked nights because dreams did not wait for the right time. I never forgot that." Lena's hands clutched the photo tightly, her tears falling onto the counter. She could barely speak. She never mentioned this," she whispered, shaking her head in disbelief. "She never said she met you." Elon nodded slowly. "I do not think she would have. She was humble. She did not ask for anything. But I owed her something. That night, her kindness changed how I saw people. I told myself that if I ever made it, I would come back. Not to repay her, but to say thank you." He paused for a moment, his eyes scanning the shelves as if he could still see her mother standing there, smiling. "When I finally looked for this place, I found out she had passed away. That broke me more than I expected. I found you instead, working the same job she once did, carrying the same weight she used to carry. That was when I knew I had to come." Lena's chest tightened. The emotions crashed inside her all at once. Shock, sorrow, pride, confusion. The cash on the counter no longer looked like a gift. It looked like something heavier, something that carried years of memory and regret. "I cannot take this," she said again, her voice trembling. "I do not deserve it." Elon's tone softened. "You are not taking it," he said quietly. "Your mother already earned it. She helped me when I had nothing. This is not payment. It is thanks." The room went still. The hum of the refrigerators, the flicker of the lights, even the wind outside seemed to fade away. Lena's tears dropped onto the counter, one after another, until her vision blurred completely. The security camera above captured the moment. A billionaire standing silently before a crying cashier, both bound by a promise made decades apart. No fame, no spotlight, just gratitude that had finally found its way home. Lena stood there, her hands trembling as the crisp bills rested on the counter between them. The air felt heavy, like the store itself was holding its breath. She looked up at Elon, her eyes filled with 1,000 emotions she could not name. Part of her wanted to thank him. Another part wanted to scream. 4 years she had struggled, scraping through life one shift at a time. Now the man standing before her was offering something that felt like both kindness and pity. Elon's gaze was steady but soft. He did not say anything. He let her decide. That silence gave her strength. Slowly, Lena placed her hand on the money and pushed it back just a few inches. It was not rejection. It was dignity. She wanted to show that her worth did not come from what he could give, but from what she had survived. Elon gave a small nod. No surprise. No offense. Just quiet respect. For a brief second they were not billionaire and cashier. They were two people connected by the past, each carrying their own weight of loss and gratitude. She could see his eyes flicker toward the small framed photo behind her at the counter. It was her mother's picture. Elon reached for it gently just to look. He smiled faintly, a sad, grateful smile. Then he placed it back exactly where it was and took a step back. There was nothing left to say. He adjusted his jacket, gave her one last nod and started walking toward the door. The automatic doors opened with a soft chime, letting in a rush of cool air from outside. As Lena watched him leave, a strange calm settled over her. It was as if something unspoken had been lifted between them. He had come to repay a debt, but in truth, both of them had found something deeper. He came to repay a debt, but left having shared a truth money could never buy. Elon stepped out into the cool night air, the quiet hum of the city wrapping around him. The store lights glowed softly behind him, casting long shadows on the empty parking lot. He walked toward his Tesla, the sound of his footsteps echoing faintly against the concrete. When he opened the door, he paused for a moment and looked back through the glass. Inside, Lena was still standing where he had left her, frozen between disbelief and understanding. The Tesla's headlights came on, cutting through the darkness as he pulled away slowly. The car moved down the road, the light fading until only the sound of distant traffic remained. The night swallowed everything, leaving the world calm again. Inside, Lena's breath came uneven, a mix of exhaustion and something deeper she could not explain. Her tears had stopped, but her eyes still burned. She looked down at the counter, at the neat stack of money that still sat untouched. The bills seemed smaller now, lighter somehow, like their weight had been lifted the moment he walked out. Her gaze shifted to the small framed photo resting beside the register. Her mother's smile looked back at her, warm and proud. Lena brushed her fingers lightly over the glass. Her voice came out in a whisper, soft and trembling. She would be proud. The store was silent again. The hum of the refrigerator filled the air, and the faint buzz of the lights felt almost comforting. The moment hung there, quiet but full. Lena took a deep breath, wiped her eyes and stood a little straighter. Outside, the night stretched wide and still. Inside, peace slowly began to return. The storm had passed. A few days later, the security footage from the small store found its way online. The video was grainy and black and white, captured from the corner camera above the register. It showed Lena standing behind the counter, tears streaming down her face, and a man who looked unmistakably like Elon Musk leaving a stack of cash before walking out into the night. The clip spread fast. Within hours, it was everywhere. People shared it across platforms, attaching their own opinions and headlines. Some called it a touching story of gratitude and second chances. Others were skeptical, saying it was all a planned act, a piece of public relations designed to show a softer side of the world's richest man. News channels picked it up, influencers discussed it, and hashtags trended. Yet through all of it, Lena stayed silent. She never gave an interview or posted a response. She just went back to her routine, scanning groceries, smiling at customers, and locking up the store each night. But those who knew her noticed a change. Her quiet confidence had grown. The tired look in her eyes had softened. There was something calm and grounded about her now, like a weight she had carried for years had finally lifted. For the rest of the world, it became just another viral story, one that would fade with time like so many others. But for Lena, it was more than that. It was a reminder that even the smallest kindness could come full circle. As the final narration plays, the screen slowly darkens. The words linger in the air. In a world obsessed with fame and power, sometimes it takes one quiet act to remind us what being human really means. The music fades. The story ends.